Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello.
My name is Rebecca. I'm going to be your moderator for this afternoon. We're going to have an interesting conversation around. Hello. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rebecca. I lead digital solutions for EcoBank Group. We are going to have an interesting conversation around Fintechs driving digital payments in the ecosystem that we currently have. I have distinguished personalities in the industry to help with this conversation. We know that Fintechs continue to play an important role in growing the digital ecosystem. This session will explore the achievements and challenges within the sector and how Fintechs can drive the digital ecosystem. With me is Megan McCormick. She is a co-founder and CEO of Oze. And then we also have Kojo Hesse. Kojo is a director and co-founder of ExpressPay. And then we have Sebastian Yali. Sebastian is the CEO of Global Accelerex. And then finally, we have Carl Ashi. Carl heads the mobile financial service at GCB Bank. We want to ensure that we expand our conversations, even including our audience. So we have a poll that is currently live. So you should be able to access it using the Slido link, which you can actually access by going to slido.com. And the event number is 242633. The poll is, are Fintechs just disruptors with no positive impact on economic development? I guess it could be yes or no. It depends on where you stand. And then there's a few announcements on Q&A. We encourage participants on the virtual platform to post questions by clicking the Ask Questions button. There's a yellow button on the virtual platform. You can also use the comments on the Facebook page of this event or post your questions through slido.com and use the event number 242633. I repeat, the event number is 242633. I'll go straight to Megan. Hi, Megan, how are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to talk with you.
Excellent. As a CEO of Oze, do you think Fintech should collaborate with established financial institutions to have the required impact?
That's a great question. So to give some context as to what Oze is a mobile platform that makes it easy and habit forming for small business owners to keep their financial records. So think about it as replacing that paper ledger book with a mobile app that helps you enter sales and expenses, and then also helps you make sense of that data so that you can make better business decisions and also access capital. And so we've always been looking at, okay, there is one path to market for us where we use Facebook and Google Ads, we reach digitally savvy small business owners, they start using the app. We go raise a debt fund from Lendio or the other kind of fintech B2B debt providers, and then we provide them with access to capital, and we work outside of the formal financial system and really take the stance that fintechs are better, faster, stronger, and that if we want to see real change, that we need to stay outside of the formal financial sector. That is not the path that Oze has chosen. After piloting, after a lot of discussions, we believe that the fastest and most impactful way to help small business owners improve their performance and access the capital that they need to thrive is to go through the formal financial systems. We chose that path for a couple of reasons. Out of all of the governments, corporates, NGOs, social sector organizations in West Africa, we've seen that financial institutions have been the best at acquiring small business customers. It is expensive and challenging to go out and find small businesses on your own, especially when you move out of the youth category, especially when you move out of the major urban centers of Accra, or let's say in Nigeria, Lagos. But financial institutions have set up branch networks, and now even agency networks across the whole country. So you can be much more effective at bringing the benefits of your platform to small business owners if you partner financial institutions as a channel. The second thing, the second half of the equation, now that you have them, how do you provide them with financial services so that they can thrive? And we believe that helping commercial banks lend to small business owners is the best way to get the least expensive capital out into the hands of our customers. So of course, there are downsides of working with large institutions. You can have, bureaucracy, long procurement processes. Maybe you can't push as hard or as far as you want to go in the beginning. But we believe that leveraging their legacy networks and infrastructure and access to capital, we can create win-win solutions. I guess I would say win-win-win. Win for the small business owners who are getting what they need, win for the fintechs that are delivering their innovative solutions out to these customers, and then wins for the banks and that they can acquire digital tools and digital capabilities without having to build internally. So I would say, yes, you should partner with financial institutions.
Thank you very much, Megan. And I like what you said about win-win-win-win all the way. So there's something in there for everybody. I'll just move in straight to Kojo. Hi, Kojo, how are you doing?
Hi, guys. I'm doing well. I hope you are too.
I'm excellent here. Kojo, you co-founded Expresspay. Okay, you're a director of Expresspay and you co-founded Expresspay. What has been your experience in driving change in the Ghanaian fintech ecosystem?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've been at Expresspay, we've been, working on payments for, the past decade almost. And it's been, I think, an experience where you have to be patient ultimately. I think that's been the biggest learning for us. When the market is ready, things happen almost immediately, right? Without you having to force or push very hard. But when it's early in the cycle, no matter of convincing or discussions or engagements really seems to move the needle. I'll give the example of probably back in very early days, we started to talk to banks about being able to do cardless ATM withdrawals, being able to transact your bank account from USSD or SMS, and people looked at us like, what are you sort of talking about? Like, what are these things?
Which part of the world are you from?
Exactly, right? They're like, this thing's never going to work here. And I think it's something where over time, as people have begun to appreciate what consumers are actually demanding, all of a sudden they become a lot more open to being able to deliver on some innovative products and solutions. And so I think that's really kind of what the core of the experience that we have has been. It's about being able to develop some of these innovations, test them out, and make sure that you're in the right place, sort of at the right time, to be able to deliver them when the market is ready for them. If you're a little late to the party, then all of a sudden everybody's already got these solutions ahead of you. But if you're too early and you're not patient enough, then of course you'll be really frustrated with it.
Okay, you've talked about the timing, the challenge, the market timing. Are there any other challenges related to maybe partners or even from the government or regulators?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, in terms of understanding how partnerships work, I think generally speaking is another area which has been something where everyone has to learn. I think typically culturally here, a lot of people are used to working sort of in a silo by themselves. People very, I remember when we were doing business with some of the telcos. In fact, every telco you went to a meeting with in the early days, you had to have a phone number from that telco, right, before you could do business with them, right? But things are kind of changing thanks to things like mobile number portability. People are realizing that, look, it's an ecosystem. You have to collaborate and work with different partners. So I think, yes, understanding sort of the value that you bring, appreciating the fact that you can't do everything by yourself, and winning some and letting somebody else win some as well. You're essentially losing some, getting some middle ground so you can collaborate instead of always having to compete. I think these are important things as well that you also have to deal with.
Just a quick highlight. I know you wouldn't want to get there, but it could be a matter of timing, maybe, especially on the regulation side. Is there any highlights? I mean, some challenge in that regard as well?
Yeah, certainly. I think we've come a long way with the regulation, right? Thanks to the Payment Systems Act that was passed fairly recently. Before, there was always kind of the question about sort of, for fintechs, where do you kind of fit in? I mean, what role do you play versus what role does a bank play versus what role does, a switch or a network kind of play? And, having the regulation in, sort of provides clarity. It also ensures, the integrity of the system, which is another big concern. We've seen a lot of industries, around it, surrounding finance, run into challenges. And so being able to maintain or meet the standards that, the regulation requires gives a bit more confidence to participants in the ecosystem that, players who are providing services at least, have a minimum level of, performance or, systems and, capability that they can kind of rely on, and so that they can be safe as well. So certainly, from a regulatory perspective, the law that has, come in has provided a lot of, sanity to, sort of the activities that were all going on.
Yeah, you're right. We've come a long way in relation to dealing with the regulations, and I think it's been positive overall. Hi, Sebastian. How are you doing? Sebastian, I think your mic is on mute. Yes. How are you doing, Sebastian?
Hi.
Okay.
Hi, hello. I'm doing very well. And
okay.
I hope everybody's fine.
Yeah, we're doing excellent. So, Sebastian, tell me, MSMEs are the engine of growth in the African economies, right? How?
Yeah, hello, Rico, I can hardly hear you.
Hi, Sebastian. Okay.
No, I can hardly hear you. Can you please? Hi, Rico, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. So,
all right, please go ahead.
Okay. MSMEs are the engine of growth in the African economy, right? And how do you think fintechs, what role are fintechs playing to enable MSMEs to embrace digital financial services?
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you for the question, and thank you for your listeners as well. Well, medium, small, and micro enterprises, I would say, in this part of our world, are more like the engine of the economy, right? And so, if you actually look around, you find very few, I would say, multinational or large companies. Virtually all the companies you see around are the medium to small enterprises, and these are the guys who form the chunk of our economy. And so, propelling these people and giving them platforms and services that can enable them do their payments and their collections seamlessly is something that is very critical to this economy, and that is the role that the fintechs are actually playing. Now, in terms of what is done, what I would actually say is that most fintechs, one of the key things is actually knowledge sharing. The fact that fintechs are actually holding sessions with these small and micro enterprises and telling them about the need to digitize, the need to embrace digital change, and the fact that they need to use technology to grow their business is something that is really, really happening, and it's something that must really be enforced. You cannot do business the same way you used to do business 10 years ago. At least, if nothing at all, COVID has taught all of us a lesson that there's no business as usual, and that businesses must try and scale up and must actually try and embrace technology. And so knowledge sharing is very, very key. The other thing I would want to talk about is the fact that fintechs are helping the MSMEs in several ways. So, for example, when it comes to products, right, you have fintechs that are actually partnering with telcos to actually roll out capital loans to MSMEs. And so in Ghana, you have the likes of an MTN and Jumo partnering to offer loans on mobile money. You have fintechs that are focusing on fundraising platforms. And so platforms that are actually enabling micro, small enterprises actually mobilize funds. And there's a lot of crowdfunding products out there in the market. You have fintechs that are actually payment service providers. And so, for example, Global Accelerate is actually a payment service provider where we're actually facilitating and reorganizing the business processes of our merchants. And so, for example, there's a product that we in Accelerex have, which we call the RexPay, which actually enables our MSMEs to actually accept digital payment online from cards and from mobile money. And that's something that is actually streamlining the operations, because these are typical MSMEs who would not have gotten this service from traditional banks. We also have products that are actually helping them with their stock management. So Global Accelerators also has a product called the Rex Retail, where micro, small enterprises are actually able to use to actually do payments and then reorganize their stock, and then also have some sort of an inventory control process. Some fintechs are also focusing on creating marketplaces. So, for example, here in Ghana, you have the likes of My GHPay being propelled by maybe a GT Bank, where merchants can actually go and list their wares on there, all in an attempt of promoting their sales and promoting their business. So in a nutshell, these are a few things of what fintechs are actually doing to support SMEs to grow their business.
Okay, so thank you, Sebastian. Does it really add value to the business of the fintech in terms of the platforms that you provide for these MSMEs?
Well, it does. You know, the challenge about being a fintech is that you need to create a solution to a problem before you can make money. And so I would say the fintechs are about the most innovative people, because we go around looking for problems. Find solutions to them, and that is only when, because we only get to solve problems. Yeah, hello.
Hello, I can hear you. Yes, Sebastian, I think we lost you for like 5 seconds.
Yes. So as I said, we get to make money, and so for MSMEs to actually adopt fintech platforms, what it means is that the fintechs have been able to demonstrate real value to these MSMEs, hence the adoption and hence the revenue generation. And so fintechs are making their money, MSMEs are making their money, and there's a win-win situation here. Yeah.
Okay, so in a 30 seconds response, what about the MSMEs? Do they also realize good value from these solutions?
Yes, they do. And like I said, what fintechs are actually doing is to solve problems for these MSMEs. So just give an example where you are an MSME that is actually offering, you're actually based here in Accra or in Kumasi, but with the help of a fintech solution, you're able to actually mobilize deposits or payments nationwide, and you would have to actually use an alternative means to actually deliver the items to these customers. One, you cannot actually spread yourself thin nationwide. And so a solution that is enable you to mobilize funds and collect funds nationwide, like a mobile money solution for payment, is something that is of real value to the SME. And the SME is willing to pay for such a solution because they look for the opportunity cost of not having that solution, and they think it's better having the solution. So there's real value.
Okay, thank you very much. Carl, how are you doing?
Fine.
Carl,
Yeah.
Excellent. You currently lead mobile financial services in the bank. I must say that you are benefiting from both worlds. You used to work with within a MNO driving digital financial services, and you're also leading same within a bank. Can you share with us your perspective on the internal capabilities required by banks to facilitate fintech collaborations?
Yeah, thank you so much, and good afternoon to the viewers. So I think it's a totally different world within the financial services space and then the banking space, the traditional banking space. And so there obviously has to be a relook at the business model, right? If you really want to accommodate some of the fintechs, okay, some of the people who are talking on this platform, I guess you really have to look at your business model to see if to see how you position yourself to actually meet the needs of these fintechs. So I think number one is really around the business model of the traditional bank, right? Because I think traditionally the way banks are set up, they don't lend themselves to the kind of business that the fintechs actually run today. And so there's a big change. It's a big change that needs to happen on the banking side. So that's the first one. I think on the second side, for that change in business model, it has to come with a mind around synergy and around looking at where we are strong and where the others are stronger, right? And I think a good bank with a good business model that is geared towards basically partnering would look out for synergies and would look out for partners who can do things even much better than they can do it, and then look for a way of partnering them. So that is really critical. Thirdly, I think that financial institutions need to invest in technology, okay? Because the thing is that you have to meet these fintechs halfway, because they have the plans and what they want to do, and you are in your traditional, setup, and it makes it very difficult for you to interface and to understand the needs of these fintechs, right? And so I think the banks or the financial institutions that are serious about this need to have, a mind to actually get into the space of investing technologically to meet these fintechs halfway, to meet them so they can actually provide these services together. And then you look at security of the system. So how can the banks assist some of these fintechs to actually increase the security on their systems? I mean, banks are traditionally conservative, and so they kind of put some of these things first, right? But for fintechs, like Sebastian said, if they don't go out looking for the business, they are not going to eat, right? Which is a big issue. And so sometimes you realize that you can move even faster than some of these other very important functions of the business can move. And so I think it's important that banks actually assist, their partners, especially on that side, looking at their processes, looking at their security systems, assisting and working with them to ensure that they bring these partners apart to what they are doing. So I think in general, it really boils down to the business model and having the top management within banks and financial institutions to actually embrace what fintechs are doing, what they are trying to do, what they are thinking about doing. And then, basically once that is done, I think banks will be much more open to kind of partner these fintechs. So that's I think.
So if I hear you say you're looking at banks looking or projecting or trying to see how best they can do away with their legacy systems, okay, and probably upscaling or upgrading to ensure that they have a seamless integration capabilities with the fintechs. Does it summarize your thoughts? Hello, Carl. Okay, great. Hi, Megan.
Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good.
I guess where if you can just help us have a good understanding on Fintechs are core in payment facilitation, right? What do you think is the next big thing after payments? Is there going to be a tsunami that will erase payments, that will bring something that when you clap, your transaction go through? So what are your thoughts around the next big thing after payments?
Sure. So I don't think payments are going anywhere. Digital payments are going anywhere. I think more and more digital payments will overtake cash, which is still massively dominant, especially in the MSME sector. But when I think about, payments, I think about digital payments as infrastructure that enables other innovations to take place. So if we look at the road from Accra to Kumasi, how terrible that road is. Think about that road as payments. When I tried to get paid digitally for my customers, sometimes those payments fail. It's like having a pothole on the road. Sometimes the PSPs go down. It's like when a truck breaks down and blocks both lanes of traffic. We don't need to ever move Kumasi closer to Accra, but if we had a modern highway system between the two, you would see that it would enable so much more trade to take place. So I like to think about payments in the same way. And when we look at innovation more broadly on the continent, you see Kenya as a leader, right? In Kenya, you can do trade financing on your USSD on your phone and have been able to for years. They have higher levels of insurance penetration. Farmers are using all sorts of technology to increase their crop yields. And I believe that's because they are about a decade ahead of us in the adoption of M-Pesa. And so for me, the next big thing after payments is really everything. When you don't have to worry about money moving back and forth between you and your customers, and if you serve businesses like we do, your customers and their customers, you're creating this really strong foundation. So I think one of the things we're most excited about when payments are fixed is being able to automate payments that our customers have to make to their suppliers, to their employees, so that things that take a big share of mind from the MSME can happen without them even thinking about it. When more and more of your payments are digital, then accounting becomes less tedious. And when accounting becomes less tedious, more accounting happens. And when that is digital and that can be trusted, then more finance can be pushed through the system to these SMEs, and they can pay it back without having to say, okay, what day am I going to close my shop early because I don't want to go pay the high fees to put this at Momo to send it into the bank. So that's what I'm trying to say in terms of moving past payments. It's that we need payments to be solid so that we can do everything else that we're excited about doing.
Okay. So just to summarize, you believe that payments is essential to drive value-added services to improve the livelihood of the micro merchants or the SMEs. Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
Payments is infrastructure, in my opinion.
Okay. Great. Hi, Pujo.
Hi.
Okay. What do you think is the government's role in versus private sector in driving payments in general within the ecosystem through fintechs?
Okay.
And if there are any use cases or there are any examples, can you share them?
Okay, I think, well, I mean, both the private sector and government have very valuable and distinct roles to play. I mean, I think just as Megan had mentioned, payments is really infrastructure, right? It's something which has a very wide set of applicable use cases that people can actually look to build on top of. So I think government, at least what we've seen in Ghana, is that they've been fairly focused on helping to create a lot of the enabling environment that is required to enable payments and other value-added services pick up. I know this government talks a lot about this national identity that has been put in place by the digital address system, interoperability. These are core, I think, pieces of infrastructure that government, felt would help. Why? Because, you can identify people, it becomes easier to ensure that your transactions are safe, who's on the other side, addressing where people are. It helps with a lot of issues surrounding e-commerce, delivery, identifying where people are, again, also on KYC. Then you have, things like the regulation that we spoke about previously, again, that helps to provide some clarity and direction and guidance to the market. So everybody sort of knows where this is going. The other things in terms of policy, direct policy, I think, which government is starting to consider rolling out. So hopefully these are things that in the near future will become very, very clear in terms of maybe digital payments, a number of government agencies, and the sorts. I think we've already seen things like that happen with passports. We see GRA talking about a lot more about that, digital filing and the sorts. So hopefully we'll begin to see a bit more of those. And what those do is I think it gives the citizenry confidence and comfort around the move towards going digital, right? Now, from the private sector's perspective, I mean, really all we can ask is really an enabling environment, right? Beyond that, we shouldn't really be looking to government to do much more, right? And so it behooves us as, the private sector really to, build on top of that core infrastructure which is available, to create products that, the public actually needs. And I think, as Sebastian had mentioned some of those previously, where, again, because of regulation that came in place, it allowed, lending to happen on mobile money. You're seeing insurance products starting to come up on some of these digital channels. You see a lot of innovation around remittances, around P2P transfers. So right now, really, it's about being able to explore. And I think the safety, even with the I think the new regulation around the sandbox environment the Bank of Ghana is providing, provides additional ability for fintechs and other firms to actually take some risks on new concepts and new ideas, right? And it's only through that sort of attempt to try new products that you find the ones which actually people actually resonate with. And those are the things which then you can look to scale. And I think that's sort of the big thing, though, is ultimately, though, is looking in the private sector, looking for problems that you can scale. For example, I know that right now, there are a number of firms who are looking at public transport and looking to see how they can innovate in and around public transport. So imagine you're going to take a trotro or a taxi, similar to you can with an Uber, or you can actually pay with digital channels, and so these are things where as the private sector is looking for ways to participate or help to drive change. We'll be looking at to help us really become big and relevant as well.
I think you're perfectly spot on. We've come a long way, and if you look at the days where if you had to get a passport, you need to go through quite a lot to get this. But we are actually at a stage where in Ghana, you just log on wherever you are in the world, make your payments, and then get your bookings, get your biometrics done, and then within a defined period, even your passport, if you so wish, can be couriered to you. So I think this has been very interesting for us as a country, and I believe that that partnership between the government, private sector, and the fintechs, makes this a reality. So I think I can agree with you more than what you highlighted. That is, for I as a citizen, I benefit a lot from some of these opportunities and the development that has gone on. Hi, Sebastian. How are you doing?
Hi, Morocco. I'm doing very well.
Okay. Fintechs, are known to be breaking the status quo by innovating to enrich user experience of products and services. If you can spare can you just help us share highlights of some of the innovations happening in the digital payment space? And obviously, if there are any problems that comes with it in terms of solving the problems that are related to these innovations.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, very cool. I think before I go into that, what I'll actually say is innovation should not just be innovation, or you should not just be innovating for innovation's sake, but you should be innovating to solve problems of mankind, right? And so there are a lot of initiatives that people have, but what I always say when people bring inventions or innovations to me is, what problem is this solving, and how do we monetize such an innovation? Because at the end of the day, R&D is going into this, their shareholders and this, people have invested their capital into this. This is not a social enterprise, and it's something that returns would have to come out of it. So innovation is fine, but people who are thinking of investing in innovative ideas should be making sure that these innovations are things that are solving social problems and are things that are deriving real value. But before I go into that, what I would say is there are a lot of innovations. And so one of the things I would want to talk about is the fact that, look, here in Ghana, 5 years ago, we didn't have mobile money interoperability. And so almost all the telcos here were working in silos, and all the mobile money platforms were in silos until we actually launched the mobile money interoperability, which actually connects all the telcos and the financial and the banks and all the other fintechs as well. And so that, I would say, is an innovation worth commending. You would also want to talk about the fact that there's also plans to integrate our payment system into our national ID system, right? If that happens, that is also an innovation worth noting, because what we should all be aiming at getting is actually to having a single digital identity for every single customer that operates on any digital platform. So that is something that we're looking forward to having. Now, in the past, and I'll say 5 years ago, if somebody actually sent you money from abroad, you physically would have to go into the banking hall with a code to actually redeem your remittance. Now, in the comfort of your office, you can actually have this terminated directly into your bank account, or you can have it directly terminated into your mobile money wallet. That is an innovation worth commending. It's something that is really solving a social problem. If you go to certain part of Africa, like Rwanda and stuff, you would actually have banks issuing cards on the back of mobile money wallets. And so somebody actually has a mobile money wallet and has been issued a physical card, which is actually called a companion card. That, I would say, is an innovation, because what is actually happening is that the mobile money agent, where you could actually do a cash out, these guys don't open 24/7. And so by giving somebody a piece of plastic that is actually linked to their bank account, you're actually opening up their wallet for usage 24/7. And so that, I would say, is also an innovation. Now, we have a lot of innovation around mobile money products. We have all kinds of products that are leveraging on the customer base of the mobile money institutions. And I would say all those things like healthcare insurance and stuff, these are all innovations. And so I would say these are relevant innovations, and then there are things that are worth commending. The other thing I would want to say is, as we try to innovate and as we try to find convenient ways of offering products and services to our customers, there lies in the risk, because as you try to innovate, if you're not careful, you end up also exposing yourself.
I guess we've lost
well, there are real risks and attacks and stuff. Hello?
Hi, okay, you're back. Yeah, I can hear you, you're back.
All right, thank you so much. What I was saying is that whilst you are innovating and trying to create convenience for customers and solving problems, you would also have to be very mindful of the risk and the fraud implications to such systems. And so in recent times, all systems that are actually deployed would have to have some sort of inbuilt security controls. And so if it's a card solution that you're actually offering, you want to be sure that the cards are PCI DSS certified and enabled. You want to be sure that you're actually offering chip-based cards. If it's some sort of mobile solutions that you're offering, you would want to be sure that there's two-factor authentication. You want to actually do biometric and facial recognition. These are some of the solutions that are actually available. You want to be sure that there's actually a one-time password that is generated. In terms of communication, you're using the secure socket layer encryption methods and the likes. So I would think from now, fintechs are being innovative and actually taking security very, very serious, because that is the bedrock. Once your system is compromised, you suddenly lose the trust of all your customers and you cannot risk it. So most products are now being tested properly before they are rolled out. And so I would say all fintechs are now being security conscious, and customers can actually trust these systems. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Carl, you've played both leagues, right? And what I should say, Champions League and the rest. I want your take on what will you say is the role of banks or regulated deposit-taking institutions in working with fintechs to drive digital payments? What role are banks currently playing to drive digital payments?
Okay, so I'll just take it from three fronts, and I'll start from the more commercial front, right? So it's really identifying the opportunities that exist for digitalization and pushing that agenda with the fintechs. Today, most of these banks have customers who have various needs to digitize whatever they are doing. And so I believe that the banks have the opportunity to actually have a conversation with some of these partners and ask that, they kind of take them on this journey of digitalization. So I think that is one. So that is for existing customers. Now for new customers, obviously there's the opportunity to also bring them on the same journey, look at their businesses, assess their businesses, and help them on a journey where they can actually work with some of these fintechs to basically make their reporting much better, being able to track their transactions and all that. So there's an internal customer, there's an external customer, and obviously there are the customers like government that needs a lot of help when it comes to digitalization. Now you need some of these banks and financial institutions to actually sound out to government on some of these opportunities that exist. So I think that is one of the areas where we can do some work. Number two is just on the back of Sebastian's presentation. That's on the digitization agenda as a whole, right? Because the thing is, if NIA is done properly and all the other things are done properly, it goes round and then it kind of helps banks to reduce what are interest rates, or being able to identify customers who do stuff and all that. So I think banks need to lead a charge in driving that kind of conversation around digitizing some of the things that we do, even at the national level. Last but not the least, I'll talk about guidance. So I think I said that earlier, where I think that banks can do a lot more with basically helping to build capacity of fintechs when it comes to regulatory, basically working with the regulatory regimes that we find ourselves in. So what is the central bank actually looking for? What are the things that they would want fintechs to do? How can banks even build capacity? Because they've been dealing with the central bank for, at least JCB has been dealing for 67, 68 years, right? So how can they help some of these fintechs build capacity in some of these areas? So I think these are the areas where I think banks can actually bring some bit of assistance to whatever the fintechs are doing and help them actually even do much better than they are doing today. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. There's a question from Ebenezer Ayer on Facebook. He says, how is Fintech liaising with UCC, that's University of Cape Coast, to train microfinance practitioners who are involved in financial access and inclusion? I'll allow any of you to take it.
Okay. So I guess that's an area we need to look at. So yeah, so I guess we would have to touch base with him after.
Okay.
So we can
Sebastian, yeah, what's your input on in that as well?
Well, I think there's a lot more collaboration, and I must admit that there's a lot more work that has to be done. And so UCC is actually a specific institution, but I know of Fintechs working with other institutions to actually grow the SME business. And so if there's an opportunity in UCC, I'm ready to explore, and that's something that I would want to take the details of the person asking this question, and then we can follow up later. But then there are huge opportunities with Fintechs working with organized institutions like the UCC to grow the SME space, and so that's something that is of interest to us. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. This question goes to both Megan and Kojo. Maybe I'll start with Megan first. It's related to AFTA. What are the Fintech doing to take advantage of the opportunities that AFTA brings? Are there any challenges that you believe that AFTA could bring?
Okay, so
Megan, your mic is on mute.
Yeah, I just realized it. Sorry. I fall heavily on the side that AFTA is going to be beneficial to all players. I think the challenge is increased competition, right? But the size and the opportunity in the market and the reduction of costs due to the reduction of bureaucracy, I think far outweighs the cost of having a more competitive market. What OZE in particular, we're focused on how we can help the SMEs in Ghana and Nigeria where we work take advantage of this rather than what can we specifically do as a company. So when a business is starting to not just supply their local market, but want to send goods across borders, maybe even across several borders, they're going to need financing in order to finance that inventory. They're going to need to have better relationships with customers who maybe will only pay on delivery. So you need to be able to really track very well, okay, I sent out 3 shipping containers of pineapple from Ghana to Mali, and that person's not going to pay me for 2 weeks until it arrives there. So how can I make sure that I'm staying on top of my accounts receivable? So these are the kinds of things that we're doing at OZE to help MSMEs in Ghana and Nigeria take advantage of being able to serve the Pan-African market. But I'm sure Kojo will have some things to say about how Fintech specifically can take advantage of it.
Hi, Kojo.
Yeah, so I think the African continental, free trade area, I think it provides a lot of opportunity. Really, I mean, so many countries, with diverse regulation, diverse, requirements, that, through the, this trade area, all of a sudden, in principle, will have access to, or, merchants will have access to, customers will have access to a diverse set of products. So what it does is it creates opportunity. It creates opportunity, to match, buyers and sellers. It creates opportunity to create simple platforms where trade can, take place over. It creates simple opportunities, to also facilitate the movement of money, the management of the movement of goods. So yes, I think it's a tremendous opportunity that will take a bit of time though, because there's still regulation in principle that needs to be reconciled between countries to really make this sort of a reality. So I think we're really looking forward to seeing this. We're starting to look at it even as we, for my company, ExpressPay, even as we look at our expansion plans, certainly something that we're hoping to be able to leverage on. Yes, certainly there will be competition, but in terms of fintechs, but I think it's one of the other panelists mentioned early on, largely speaking, a lot of the transactions, a lot of the processes are being done either in cash or manually. So there is a lot of opportunity to innovate and digitize. So, even though there will be some competition, I think there's going to be a lot more the need to collaborate. And so these are things that going forwards we'll be looking to do with other firms as we look to tackle the problems and the challenges that were presented through this.
Yeah, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to our participants. I, as a moderator, have really enjoyed this session. And then I believe that the conversation does not stop here. There'll be a lot of questions that we might probably have to respond and then post to you guys on our respective channels. But it's been an interesting session. Thank you very much. We kindly ask you to join the next panel section that will come up in the next few minutes. Enjoy the rest of the session. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
What an insightful panel discussion we've just witnessed. And I'm sure that you're writing down some notes, things that we have to do, things to learn, things to incorporate in our decision making, even as we are learning more about our digital ecosystem. Just to remind you that you are at the second Mobile Technology for Development 2021. And this is a virtual event, it's a 2-day event, and I'm happy that you've made the time to join us here. Remind you once again that you can not only be part of our panel discussions and contributions, but you can also take some time and look at our exhibition booths for our main sponsors who made it possible for you to access services and products that are on offer, so you can be able to close some business and do some work, even as you are getting the best of services here at the Mobile Technologies for Development 2021. Let's bring you messages from our main sponsors, and then we'll continue.